Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Bill is off tonight. The reversal hearing for a 16-year-old female charged for a fentanyl overdose death back in December continues today in Brown County Court for charges of first-degree reckless homicide. She's trying to get her case moved back to juvenile court. New at 6, Samantha Cavalli joins us live outside the courthouse with more on what she learned in today's hearing. Samantha.
That's right, Cammie. Back in February, 16-year-old Maylia Sotelo was asked the court to have her case tried in juvenile court. Today marked the second time the judge would hear witnesses from both the state and the defense, and he'll make his decision later next month. Sotelo is currently being tried as an adult for the fentanyl overdose death of an 18-year-old male back in December. Now, during today's hearing, witnesses from the state were called from correctional institutes and to discuss the qualifications for a defendant to receive juvenile services while in adult court versus the lack of opportunity for juvenile services. The state also called Aaron Alexander Wolf to the stand. He's the supervisor in the Youth Justice Department for Brown County. He oversees the social worker that is currently assisting Maylia and the Sotelo family. When asked about his awareness of a previous case involving Sotelo prior to this one, he said he was aware. There was a separate petition that had been filed in juvenile court with a waiver.
Are you asking what our ultimate recommendation was in that case?
Yeah, and whether it was appropriate for her to remain and receive services in juvenile court, or whether there was a lack of opportunity for services in juvenile that she should go to adult court. Yes.
Our recommendation was that she should be waived into the adult court on the juvenile petition.
Well, the defense asked that Alexander Wolf not take the stand due to confidentiality reasons, but the judge said to have it go forth with the state's witness because he could talk about the juvenile system and the treatment in the adult system. Now, Judge Lee Joyce will announce his ruling on July 17th. Reporting live in Green Bay, Samantha Cavalli for Action 2 News.